Hello again, viewers, and greetings, fellow space travelers. This is Thorn of Night, and welcome to episode 4 of my new tree breeding guide from Minecraft Forestry and Extra Trees, rather. Extra Bees? No, that's from my other guide. In this episode, I'm going to be covering the trees that you get in the Aspen family, and all of the trees in this branch are kind of squat little stubby trees. But there are a few of them to go over. But before I do that, I should mention I am making this map available for download, so you can go in and poke around, see what all is involved with it. I have included at the very far end over there the Tree of Trees, which lets you see more specifically how to get from one type of tree to the next for doing the crossbreeding. But let's go ahead and move on here. We have the Aspen Tree as the first one in this family, and it is made using the common alder and the common beech, which I went over in the previous episode. The common beech family, and in order to accommodate these things, they are kind of squat, but they are, as far as I remember, the tallest of this family. They can grow up to a height of 6, so you're going to need 6 tall and a 5 wide area to accommodate all of them. They have a radius of 2, and then one for the sapling in the center. They do not give any fruit whatsoever, but they do give you these poplar wood logs and the poplar wood planks that you can see here. That's the cross section of the logs, and that's how they look on the bark. You can expect to get about 4.5 logs per tree, but left to their own devices, you're going to have a negative return on saplings. Out of 20, I only got 10 saplings from these, and that's because there really aren't all that many leaf blocks. So in order to have a farm of these, you are going to need to use a grafter so you can guarantee getting enough saplings out of this to keep the farm going. But that is the Aspen Tree, and as you can see, they can grow pretty close together if you want to get a little grove of them going for your tree farm. It is a tier 4 tree, which means that it requires a tier 3 tree in order to make it. And from here on, everything comes from the aspen or beyond. So, moving on to the next tree, we have the common hazel. You are going to need the common beech as well as the aspen to make it. You can get 3 logs on average per tree and about 1.5 saplings. I have this orange wool here to designate that you might not be able to just leave this go as a standalone farm until you get a sufficiently large quantity of them. Once you do, you can expect to get a positive return, but it takes a little bit of babying in order to get that done. You are going to be able to get hazelnuts out of this, and you'll get the hazel wood, which you can see the planks and the cross section of the logs, and there's the bark there. Once again, they are going to need a radius of 2, and they will grow up to a height of 5. And because they are short and squat, you're not going to be able to run through the grove all that well. But they do grow pretty close. These ones that have the leaf block that sticks out just by one there don't seem to limit the growth, so you can have them grow pretty close to one another. But that's the hazel, the common hazel tree. It is an end-of-the-line tree, which means there are no new species that you can get from it, and that's what this red bar of wool signifies. Moving on, I guess I should mention, it is a tier 5 tree because it comes from a tier 4. Anyway, moving on to the next one, the elderberry. You're going to need the common alder and the aspen, once again, in order to make these. They can grow with a leaf block that sticks out a little bit. I've had one when I was harvesting them to get the sample for the average logs and saplings. I had one that looked different from all the rest, but typically you're going to get almost identical trees, which will grow up to a height of 5. If you don't worry about the extra one that sticks out. You can have it a radius of 1, and as you can see, once again, they grow pretty close to one another. Once again, it is an end-of-the-line tree. It will yield 3 logs per tree on average, and about 1.2 saplings per tree. So this is an even lower chance. You can get a positive return out of it, but watch out. That's what the orange is there to signify. It will give you these elderberries, and you can get this elderwood, which you can see the logs, the cross-section of the logs, and the planks from the elder logs there. Once again, it is a tier 5 tree. Moving on to the next one, we have a great sallow. In order to get this, we will need the aspen and a white willow tree, which will be, as far as I have divided everything up here, is part of the silver lime tree family. So you'll need to at least get the white willow going, and that does need special conditions in order to get that one bred. You'll need some sort of swamp or jungle to get the white willow before you can move on to the great sallow. But once you do, you will get these great sallows here. They only grow to a height of 5, and that's just this one little leaf block that sticks out on top here. And they are a negative return tree. They don't really yield all that many saplings. By rounding up, I got 1 sapling per. It was only 19 saplings out of 20 trees. But you can get 3 logs out of each one. And that's over a sample of 20 trees that I did this. So you can grow them in a 1 radius area, so 3 all the way across, counting the sapling for that. And once again, this is an end-of-the-line tree. Here are the cross-section of the logs and the planks that you can get from them, and they are called the willow wood, which comes from the willow tree, and it is a tier 5 tree. Moving on to the next one, we have the common rowan. You will need the common alder and the aspen in order to get this. And here's what the cross-section of the logs and the planks and the bark looks like. They are kind of squat little trees, not much there in the line of leaves. They can have some variance in the shape and height of the tree, so they can have these slightly larger, but for the most part you're going to get this guy here. But they can grow up to a height of 6. You can expect to get about 3.3 logs on average, and that's once again out of a sample of 20, and about 1.3 saplings per tree. So it's a slow grow, but it will eventually be a self-managed farm. There's no fruit that comes from it, and you can get the rowan wood from this. Moving on to the next tree, the common hawthorn. You will need the common rowan and the common beech in order to get this guy. And here's what the planks and the cross-section logs and the bark looks like. No new trees come from this one, so it's an end of the line. And once again, you're going to have to watch out and sort of baby it, because you're not going to get all that many saplings. And once again, that's because of the amount of leaves there are. It does grow up to a height of 5. And let me make this morning again. And you can expect to get the just barely enough to cover a farm if you keep on top of it. I suppose with a sufficiently large one you can have a positive return, but it's very iffy. But it will produce this hawthorn wood. You can get 3 logs and about a sapling per tree out of this, and that's what they look like. And they do grow pretty densely. And this one is a tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tree this time. I had a little lag there because it requires a tier 5 tree in order to make it. Moving on to the next one, we have a common holly, and you're going to need the common alder and the common rowan, and it gives you this sort of really bright white. I don't really know what the extra color in here is. Sort of like a pale orangish to go with the white, maybe, I'm not sure. But you can see the cross section of the logs. There's the planks, and that's what the bark looks like. They will grow up to a height of 5, and they're almost all identical, if not identical. I didn't get any variation when I was doing my other testing. So this is probably the only template for this type of tree, but as you can see, they need a 3 wide area or a 1 radius area in order to grow. This is a negative return tree. You'll get 3 logs out of each tree, but you will only get about 3/4 of the time you'll get a sapling. So after planting 4 trees, you're only going to get 3 saplings, unless you are really, really, really lucky. And as you can see there, it was almost spot on, or it was spot on, 15 out of 20 trees. But you get the Hollywood there. Hollywood. Anyway, and it is not an end of the line because it is used to go on to make the last tree in this branch called the Boxwood. The Boxwood requires common holly and the common alder. And it's called Boxwood because, well, it grows in these little cubes. They are all identical as far as I was able to determine with all my testing. But it is an end-of-the-line tree. There's no new species that come from it. You can see what the cross-section of the logs look like there, the planks, and that's what the bark looks like. And they are just this 3x3x3 cube of leaves. You can expect to get a positive return eventually out of them. You can get 3 logs and about 1.4 saplings per tree, and you'll get the boxwood logs and planks from this. But they will grow up to a height of 4, so you don't really need all that much room for them. And they do grow pretty close together because they have that 1 radius thing. And this one is a tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 because it requires a tier 6 tree in order to make it. But that is it for this family, the Aspen family of trees. I hope this was helpful. If you do have any questions or comments or suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I will do my best to respond as promptly and thoroughly as possible. If you like this video and you like what I'm doing here, please feel free to give me a like. I do appreciate that. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe so you know when my future stuff comes out. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here, so thank you once again for watching. This is Thorn of Night, and I will talk to you later.